Good day. How are you? Today we're going to dig a little deeper. And I think it's the deepest part of the Ascension journey that a lot of us are going through right now. I keep digging down and looking inside, trying to find out why all this stuff is happening, all these crazy life events and relationship stuff and divorces and business issues and watching reality. And as we're going through what Amanda Lawrence calls a passageway right now, the next couple of weeks, we're moving from like one light node to another light node. And it's exposing all that remains. Anything that's not in alignment with where we're heading is going to show up in these next few days. I've been getting tested deeply on whether or not I stand up for myself. And that's a really big thing, and it's really intense because let's talk about some of the easy ones. Okay, somebody that raises their voice to me. For my whole life, because my dad yelled and spanked and mom yelled too, I always had a deep fear of authority figures and anybody that would raise their voice. And over the last couple of years, I've had lots of tests of that, and I've run into people that default to that. And I learned to stand my ground. I learned to sit in my trigger, in that fear, and then go back through the energy and release it. And even by speaking about it, I can hear it or feel it being released. It's just like a thing in the back of my chest right now. That yelling, that screaming was another person's own fear or anger or frustration or projection of some other energy. And then we get trapped in it because we don't even understand why they're so angry or why they're hitting or why they're whatever. And it's now to the point where I stand up to people. Anybody that yells at me, I know I've already won. There's something deeply that they're trying to hide. They're trying to smash me and crash me to stop. And if I just hold my ground and I calm down and I don't respond in that same trigger, there's a gift for both. And especially for me, because when it was bosses, when it was clients, when it was whatever, I immediately went into please mode to do those things. But now I won't, because please mode means I lose. And they've learned that by being angry or violent or whatever, you can get what you want. But there's a way to respond without having to be angry or violent. You can stand in your power and say, hold on, I don't agree with this. I've talked about some of that in some of my recent posts about service advisors, etc. But I don't have to get angry at them. I don't have to make them in fear. I don't have to make them off guard, but I can stand in that energy and say, this is not acceptable. What are we going to do about it? And then you collaborate and move through. What are other ways? So standing in my integrity, making agreements with other people. And then when they break the agreements, having the will and the self-love and the love for them to be able to hold them in integrity. Hold on. You don't get to speak to me like that. We had an agreement that you would give honesty and truth, and you're not doing that now. Some wound is coming up. Unless you're going to be able to speak about the wound, you're not going to have this discussion. You're not going to project your shit on me because you're not feeling safe or whatever. You're going to feel safe because I'm going to stand here and I'm going to listen, and I'm not going to allow you to hack and slash me. I'm just going to sit here and let this happen. How many times does that happen in your life? Where someone you love or a family member or whatever, they just go into their trauma and fear and whatever, and they force you to go into your please mode. You turn turtle and lay on your back. It doesn't happen anymore. I won't let it happen anymore. And honestly, to build a relationship from that energy or from that wound or trying to please or whatever, we both lose. Where else does it happen? So I'm living in my apartment, and I've talked about the noise and different things. And it actually got to the point where I complained enough and I talked to other people, and we got to the point that the person that was partying all night every weekend got evicted. 7 other people in the building got evicted at the same time because I think that gave the power back to the landlord, and he cleaned house. So by me standing in my integrity and saying, okay, I stand by the rules of 11 to 7 quiet time, where this person does not, that person doesn't belong in this community. And it's not like all I had to do was record the sounds of making and make a noise complaint, and enough other people got courage, and all of a sudden that got resolved. I also have a problem with upstairs neighbor that just, I don't know, she's a very small younger woman, but she walks around on her heels like a frickin' sledgehammer all day. I can lay in bed at 7 o'clock in the morning and my bed vibrates. And this is a 4-story building. So I took the opportunity to, I noticed my neighbor across the hall moved out. And I took that opportunity to ask the landlord. I said, okay, hey, is that possible over there? I'm having a lot of problems upstairs. I tried to be nice, tried to talk to her. Nothing changed. I just really feel there's a lot of low vibration and anger and density coming out trying to squash me sometimes. So now I'm able to move. I signed the paperwork, and unfortunately, due to a couple delays, it's not right away, but I will move to a different spot. It has way more positive things for me. It's on the west side of the building, so I'll be able to see, I'll get the nice breezes that come from the west here in Calgary. I'll get to see the fireworks, Global Fest fireworks starts in the middle of August here, right from my balcony. Front row seat without having to pay for a $35 ticket. The apartment's identical, and I won't have those noises. I checked out all the neighbors, and it looks much better. But by standing in my power, standing in possibility, asking the hard questions, sticking my head up and saying, hey, I matter. So here's where the question comes to you. Do you deeply trust yourself? Because all of this, all of the loneliness, all of the losing of friends, all of the shit that's part of this ascension process is leading to one final thing. Do you trust yourself? And that trusting of yourself is the deepest form of self-love you're ever going to find. And that deepest form of self-love is every day. It's crazy how often you're going to be tested in your self-love. And self-love, when I talked about trust, is standing up and saying, when somebody's shouting at you and trying to make you into a people pleaser or whatever, trying to get you to stop being in your power, self-love is, excuse me, people don't get to speak to me in that tone. If you're not going to calm down, we're not going to have this discussion. Poof. Yeah, first couple times I did that, it was terror inside. It was like, why am I saying this? Why am I having to stand up to this? Why is all this happening? But guess what? The minute that happens, that other person's energy changes and it realizes that it's not going to get away with it, or it's then calling them into be accountability and whatever anger they're projecting, and things change. Yeah, they may get more angry, which means you walk away and you protect yourself, or they may tone it down, and all of a sudden now something fair and balanced is going to come. Same with relationships. When that person that you're with is not being in honesty when you made an agreement to be honest, what are you going to do? Excuse me, you're not being honest. What the hell's going on here? Let's talk about it. And it doesn't have to be angry. It's just holding accountability. All of a sudden, there's this beautiful thing that's starting to happen. The inner child that was beat down, that was sacrificed, that got pushed in the corner, didn't have any rights, couldn't have what it wanted for its whole life, is all of a sudden starting to say, what? He just defended me. He just made sure that things are going to be better. What? That little inner child is starting to begin to trust. And that's self-love as well. Loving that inner child, saying, hey, I hear you. Why are you sad? Why does this trigger you? Why does this thing happen when somebody talks loud? Or why does this happen when it's like my father? Or why does this happen when it's like my mother? You all of a sudden start to build a rapport with that inner part of yourself. You start to trust. Because before, you maybe didn't trust. You didn't trust because it didn't feel safe to step forward. It didn't feel safe to be angry. It didn't feel safe to express your emotions. But now I've cultivated an inner landscape where all that stuff comes up. But I've learned some tools. I'm the observer. I pull back. Oh, why am I so angry? Why do I want to rip this guy's head off? Why do I want to run away? Why do I want to traumatize someone? Those are all our old responses when things got real. We learned to smash and crash and run away. But our inner child was sitting there watching, and it's like, holy cow, that older part of me, I don't feel safe with that person because that person doesn't protect me. It doesn't give me the safety that I need. And this is where something really beautiful starts to happen. Our safety and our inner safety, we discover that it's not with another person. It's not by loving another person, having a spouse in our life, or having our family close by, or having an apartment, or having all these kind of things. Our safety becomes how we respond and how we can deal with adversity. And when shit shows up, do we run away and just hide in the corner and say, hey, I'm not going to deal with this. This is too hard. No. What comes up is, holy cow, I deserve to have a safe place. I deserve to feel safe, but I'm not going to get it by trying to persuade someone else, not by trying to get that other person to align with me or coddle me or tap me on the head or whatever. No, that safety comes from, hey, I'm speaking up. This does not feel safe or right. What's going on? Now, that's not angry. That's direct. And when you get to that place, that inner child piece just goes, holy crap, who's this guy? He's confident and he knows what he wants and he's being clear. And that may scare some people away. That may be terrifying for some people. I just saw somebody drop right off as soon as I said that word. But trust me, when you get to that place, shit doesn't come down in the same way ever again. And a lot of times it doesn't even come out in a direct or derogatory way. It just comes out like, holy shit, what the hell's going on? And the old games won't show up anymore. Once I've been tested once or twice and I can trust that I'm going to respond in integrity, I'm not going to hurt someone or tear somebody's head off or whatever, because I've done that in the past. We've all done it in some way, shape, or form. And we got to admit that we have, and that we just didn't know how to deal with it. We hadn't been taught the tools. We hadn't had the experience of being held in our trigger or our trauma so that we can walk through it and then be accountable to another person. This is the freaking rites of passage of being a human being. Finding that inner safety, trusting yourself, and then getting to the point that you can interact with others and trust yourself. And relationships have even changed for me, because I see these games that go on and you go and reach out to someone and they're all really excited and interested, and then all of a sudden they're pulling back, and then they're trying to cow and test and all this kind of stuff. And that's great. It's exhausting. It's like finding someone that doesn't trust themselves, and then they just put this giant wall of boundaries and bullshit and blame and all this kind of stuff, and you're trying to interact with them when you've been really crystal clear and calm. But to engage with a person like that is not safe for anybody. And my safety comes from making agreements with people and talking to them and holding to those agreements, and then dealing with the hard stuff that shows up when you don't really want to be in the agreement, but you've already agreed and you're following through. I've had experiences where everything's wide open and okay, and a woman will be very open and sexual, and then the next day it's like she talked herself out of it or had a talk with a girlfriend, and then all of a sudden it's like big barrier up. Oh, he's not safe, he's not whatever. That's yours. I know who I am, and I'm safe. And I'm not asking strange things. It's just like you're like reset to zero sometimes. And it's the most disgusting feeling I've ever felt as a man, is to build a connection with someone, and then they sit in some shame or they sit in their trauma or whatever, and they're not willing to talk about it. And then all of a sudden I'm the culprit, just because I'm the man that maybe feels safe and that they can maybe trust. So now they can deal with their shit with this man. Not my job. Not my job whatsoever, because I trust myself. I know I can be accountable in any circumstance with a woman. I don't not speak with integrity or ask or have consent or any of those things, that's not me. I can trust myself. I am not that wounded. I am not that lacking. I am not that, because I trust myself. Inside, why would I want to build a relationship from a violation or some lack of inner trust, which just propagates it even more? I'll have that hard conversation, and I'll ask for that permission, and I'll ask for that consent. And in every moment, I'll ask for that consent until both sides ultimately trust. And by asking those things and being really clear on those things and showing your integrity through those things, the other person will get trust. The woman will get trust. Where instead we just wander around and it's like, oh, don't you feel me? Can't you read my energy? Can't you whatever? Well, when a person doesn't even trust themselves, you can't even trust what energy they're coming out, because they'll be hotly sexual in one moment and the next moment feeling violated. So until you've made some agreements, you made a base with that person, a base on my trust. What do I have to have? What do I have to have the discussions about? How do I feel that they're going to follow through in that same trust? Then all of a sudden something really concrete happens. And it's really vulnerable. It's really scary, because now you're, for the first time, maybe asking questions that you wouldn't ask before. You're now trusting what's showing up in your body and saying, hey, this is scary. I don't want to go there just yet. Can we talk about it? That's trust. And I'm navigating that each and every day in every circumstance I have with people. With in a restaurant the other day, I had a child that was 5 years old that was in the booth right beside me, and her mother permitted him to just slam his feet into the side of the bench, and it moved back about 4 inches every time, banging into the side of me, and he was having a fit, like some kind of demon was in him. Is it my job to go talk to the mother and have mad at her or whatever? I just walked away. I just took my food and moved away. Not my choice that happened, but I trusted myself. This is not going to happen. I'm not going to allow this. I'm going to step away, even though it might look embarrassing, or I might have to explain it to the restaurant people. That's trust. This is going on and on and on in our life. Do we live with noisy, angry people, or do we make a choice and step out? Move somewhere else? Yeah, I got to move. It's going to take some time. Yeah, I got to deal with all that kind of stuff. No. I trust me. I'm not going to sit there and live in a situation that doesn't serve me. That's trust. So I'm going to ask you a question. So do you trust yourself that deeply? Do you trust that you'll stand up in any circumstance and have a hard conversation, even though your chest might be squeezing and your heart's pounding? Can you take that step back for a sec, take a deep breath, and say, no, I don't agree. And to trust that what you need matters, and what following rules or following agreements or whatever matters, and then holding accountable people, because they're going to feel even safer with you. You're going to feel safer with them when you know that they can be accountable, and trust. So trust is everything. And a lot of us are on this journey to get back to trusting ourselves. We've given up so much. We're getting back to trusting ourselves. So all the tests, all the things that are going on are building trust, so you can feel safe and feel trust and have everything from completely within you. Nobody else involved. And when you have that fortress, it's not a castle, call it a foundation. Like a really hard brick rock foundation made out of diamond that anybody can come and knock on your door. You can have a bad relationship with, or have to leave, or whatever, and you're not going to have to feel unsafe, because it's like, hey, I'm not going to stay there. I'm not going to get hit. I'm not going to let this person verbally abuse me. I'm not going to do any of these things. When you have that trust, God will follow you. The universe will follow you. Everything will feed you, and it will be magic. That is the deepest divine faith, hope, and trust. And once you have that, you are unshakable as a human being. You're unshakable as a fractal of God. And it may not be obvious right now, but that's the journey we're all on to ascension, to moving through this, to rising above. And it's not fun, but when you get there, holy shit, you are amazing. And I see a lot of you getting there. And I see all the challenges. I see all these things. So where don't you trust yourself yet? Where can't you stand up? If you don't know what the tools are, you're scared shitless to go there and don't want to do that next step, or hating having to go through it, come talk to me. I've been through all these steps. The tools are really simple. They're in my videos. But if you can't find them, or they're not working for you, let's chat. Because I've learned these things. I'm living it every day. So it's not like some book I've read or accumulated. It's from actual experience. And holy shit, once you have it, you're a different person. At least from my perspective, it's what makes me a man, is what my integrity is, how people can trust me, how direct, how clear, how open, how loving, how vulnerable I am. And it changes everything. So I assume you're on the same journey and you're doing it. So you have a great day. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.